Bismillah Rahman Rahim. Assalamu alaikum class. I welcome you to English grade 6 video lessons. I'm your instructor Zia Hamid. I hope that you're doing well and you're having a great time learning about new things. So for grade 6, we are on our unit number 4. The title is He is a Carpenter. We are dealing with the competency of grammar. This is our lecture number 1A, our very first lecture, and we are talking about main and helping verbs. Now, this topic has been deducted from our students' learning outcome. Now, let's read and try to understand what we are supposed to do from our students' learning outcome. So, our SLO is demonstrate the use of main verbs and helping verbs. So, my dear learners, we will be demonstrating and showing the use of main verbs and helping verbs in our sentences. So, we are dealing with verbs, which is a part of speech, as you are familiar with it. Now, in that one, we have different kind of verbs. So, main verb and the helping verb, which is helping our main verb, will be discussed here in the students' learning outcome. So now that we have understood what we are supposed to do, here is a vertical link of our SLO with the previous grade that you have already studied and gone through. So now let's get started with our brainstorming session for today. And in this one, you need to think about this question that how do we refer actions, and which type of words are there for actions. Now, if you recall the use of verbs, the definition of a verb, you can easily solve this question. And when we are showing or referring to actions in our sentences, what do we use in that scenario? Think about it so that we can move forward with our main topic, which is about parts of speech, and we are dealing with verb. Now, let's recall the definition of a verb. A verb is the primary action or state of being in a sentence. So, it's any action or a state of just being. Both these two things are addressed in our verbs. Now, let's talk about some examples. Run, eat, or being in a state of hunger. So, all these are examples of verbs. Now, running is an action, drinking is an action, or eating is also an action. And being hungry or thirsty is a state of being. Now, verb address both of these situations, the primary action that we or the subject is doing, or our just state of being. Let's talk about it further from your book, page 29. So, verbs like be, do, and have, we use these as our main and auxiliary verb. We also call helping verbs as auxiliary verb. They are the same thing. An auxiliary verb, helping verb, helps the main verb. So, our auxiliary verb or the helping verb is actually helping what? It's helping our main verb, our main state of being, or the showing of any action happening. Auxiliary verbs, we can use them as our main verbs. Why? Because they can be used to identify tenses, moods, and voices. So, sometimes we are using our helping verbs or auxiliary verbs in place of our main verbs. They can act as main verbs. And first, we talked about be, do, and have as main and auxiliary verb. All these three things will be used both the main and as the auxiliary or helping verb. And this is what we are supposed to learn from this video. Now, let's talk about auxiliary verb. An auxiliary verb helps the main verb in a sentence by providing additional information about tenses, mood, or voice. For example, is, are, am, was, were, may, can, will, shall, etc. Now, all these are our auxiliary verbs. They sometimes also act as our main verbs. Now, let's look at some examples. So, we shall overcome this challenge together. Here, shall is our auxiliary verb. You should drink more water every day. She will call you back in an hour. They are being very helpful with the preparation. Being is another form of be. She does know how to play the piano. Here again, does is also a kind of form of do. We have finished our homework already. So all these are examples of auxiliary verbs, and you can see that they are here used in the sense of main verbs to just complete the sentence, and they do make sense and they are very sufficient in place of our main verbs. Now, they also can be used as the main verb. For example, I am sad. Here, am is actually our auxiliary verb, but it is used in the place of our main verb. So, am is enough to show a state of being. Am is an auxiliary, but here used as main verb. Now, be, do, and have. These three can be used as main verbs. Yes, they are our auxiliary verbs, but they will be used as main verbs when they function independently in a sentence. Let's talk about be as the main verb. It is used to indicate existence or a state of being. For example, I am happy. Now, he is tired. They were at the park. My dear learners, if you look at this, am, is, and were. All these are our auxiliary verbs acting as our main verb. Now, using do as our main verb. Now, it is used to perform an action. When we are showing an action, we will be using some forms of do. I do my homework. They do their best in every competition. So, doing it, which is a primary action, is shown by the word do, and this auxiliary verb or helping verb is used as our main verb in these sentences. Now, let's talk about have. Used to indicate possession or ownership. Showing ownership, that you own something or something is in your possession and something is in your ownership. Let's see. I have a cat. Now, having the cat means you actually possess it and the cat belongs to you. She has a new bicycle. Now, the bicycle is actually is in the state of possession of you. So, when we are showing a state of a kind of possession or ownership to the main subject, we use these auxiliary verbs as our main verb. Here are some more examples. Let's look at them, that how these helping verbs can be used as these words can be used as auxiliary verb and also as the main verb. She is preparing dinner for us, and they were studying all night. Now, is and were are helping our main verbs over here, which is preparing and studying respectively. Now, using these as our main verb, she is a doctor. Now, you can see that there's no other verb, and our auxiliary verb is being used as our main verb. They were here. My friends are late. Now, for the do part, I do not know the truth. Do you want to have another pen? Or I do agree with you. So it shows action. We have done the shopping, she did her homework, and I am doing my homework. All these three sentences have these auxiliary verbs as the main verb doing the part of a main verb in case the main verb is not present. And these are sufficient enough to be acting as the main verbs. You can read the examples of have both in auxiliary verb and as the main verb by yourself. Now, here is your simulation video that you can watch later to understand more about auxiliary verbs being used as our main verbs. For your classroom activity, you have to construct sentences by using is, am, are, was, were, has or have as helping and main verbs. So this will be your classroom activity. Here is a worksheet that will be handed over to you by your instructor or teacher, and you have to solve it to enhance your understanding. Now, for the homework, you have to make 5 sentences with verbs as main and helping verbs. So, take some verbs and try to see if they are being used as both main and auxiliary verbs. Come up with 5 sentences at least. Now, we are here at the end with our resources. All these are available in the description of the video. My dear learners, I hope that you have completely understood and we achieved the SLO together. We talked about verbs and auxiliary or helping verb and also main verbs. And we saw specifically that how our auxiliary verbs are used as main verbs. We looked at different examples, we compared different sentences together. Till the next video lesson, Allah Hafiz.